too good, can't let it go by, oh yeah. Think I won the lotto, this little mulatto chick could be a model. She wanna show me some. Think I won the lotto, this little mulatto chick could be a model. She wanna show me some. Shawty, it's so nice to meet you. Tell me what's up, when's the next time I can see ya? Tell me she feel like a tree, she love the road way, so I'm finna call her Khalifa. She got a fatty, I'm beating it up. She want me yelling her, sticking around when I'm fanning the bus. Shawty, don't give a fuck about these bitches who try.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to episode 3 of the Couch Sports Podcast. I'm joined here today by Feigenbaum, Lebelzik, and Malik. Boys, how we doing?
Good. Ready to talk some football.
Doing good.
Feig?
Doing good.
All right, perfect. Let's get this rolling. We're going to talk a lot of football today, as Malik said, but first, we're going to run down a couple things. Joey Chestnut, is he the greatest athlete in American sports history? I mean, the guy, he's the winningest guy, literally winningest athlete ever.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, he certainly has a heck of a takedown attempt on that guy that came up and tried to steal his thunder, dude. He certainly has a career in MMA maybe ahead of him if he doesn't.
So Max, you're the UFC guy here. Talk to me about his form. What was he?
He was going for a neck break.
He looked like he was trying to snap that motherfucker's neck.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could come up with, because it was like a weird, awkward angle, and he just went full neck and tried to break his neck. So I don't know what that was, but he took him down pretty quick and then went back to ripping hot dogs.
I loved it
too.
There's I've been watching this guy on YouTube, and all he does is just try to, like, the food challenges. He eats food as fast as he can and like as short of a time. How do you discover you have a talent for this stuff? You know, you just start shoving glizzies you just start shoving glizzies down your throat, and you're like, damn, like, these go down pretty easy. And then you just kind of like,
down smooth.
I'm making a living out of this. Like, that was insane. Joey Chestnut, props to him. Hope everyone had a fun and safe 4th of July. Another guy I want to talk about, the guy chugging the 2 gallons of pink lemonade, or the gallon of pink lemonade, whatever the fuck it was.
That's the goat, Badlands.
How? I mean, he's a huge
headache from a glass of it. I get I drink one glass, you get like hungover somehow because it's so sweet.
The sugar,
you know?
like the sweet sugar, your stomach's a mess. But
yeah,
I mean, we got some. There's a lot of athletes that that just aren't on the fields or the courts, or
they come in all shapes and sizes. That's for sure.
They really do, and they come in all sorts of. They play all different types of sports as well. You know, I don't know if you want to call glizzy eating or lemonade drinking a sport, but it's definitely some kind of competition that they are very dominant in. Joey Chestnut being the winningest athlete, I think, in American history.
Yep, I think in America, like you said, American history. He got like 15 titles, right? I don't even think it's American history. I think it's just history in general, because
I think he's tied with like Nadal or something like that.
Federer, I think it was Federer. It was
Federer.
number 2 with 14. I think is what I saw.
Something fucking ridiculous, but
yeah.
Nevertheless, we'll get off the Joey Chestnut talk, the 4th of July festivities talk. Let's move into some NBA real quick, because we took a week off. We were very busy partying 4th of July, all that good stuff. So Celtics made some moves. The Celtics made a few additions, adding Brogdon and Gallinari. Feig, what do you think this does? And where does this put them in their chances of getting back to the finals and potentially winning it again?
Well, one of the things I really thought they needed was, that point guard. I always thought that with the Celtics, have that guy that can run the offense when it gets to that 5-6 minute mark in the fourth quarter, because I've seen the Celtics with 15-point leads, and I've seen those leads go down to 0 or -10 or bad results, things that shouldn't happen when you're up 15. But also, too, Brogdon's a great player, great shooter. And then, I mean, I don't know if you're going to meet a bigger Danilo Gallinari fan than me. I mean, that guy is just a good 12, 13 off the bench. But in all seriousness, he can get his own bucket. He doesn't need someone else to kind of set him up, which it's really, really nice to have off the bench. You just have that quick, 6 points, whatever, really quick. He can shoot from all 3 levels. So I liked both moves a lot.
I thought it was a little interesting because now you assume that Brogdon starts, right? I mean, he hasn't played a ton just because of injuries, and coming out of the draft, he had one of the worst draft analysis on his injury history. That's why he got picked in the second round, was because his injury history was one of the worst, and that held up for him in the NBA. He I believe it's foot is what he's been dealing with. He's had a lot of injuries, and it's a little interesting to me that he's going to be coming in. You assume he starts, and that means that Marcus Smart will get pushed down to shooting guard role. And that's a little interesting because we completely transformed him into that point guard Smart, and that's when we started to change as a team. I hope that he doesn't become the shot heavy Marcus Smart that he usually is as a shooting guard, but it's just going to be interesting to see how they work together. I like Brogdon as like insurance for Derek White not showing up, which he tends to not do offensively. He's a great spark plug offensively. Malcolm Brogdon is. He's a great shooter, and we just need that. And then, like you said with Danilo, he'll get you 14 to 16 points without moving a muscle. You need to keep your eyes on him. Just watch him the entire season now because he doesn't move. He just sits there and scores. And we're going to need that because we just get so stagnant on offense. Our defense holds up. Brogdon's a good-ish defender. It's hard to know how good he is with not seeing him come back from injury yet. We don't know what his speed looks like. And Danilo's not a great defender. He tries hard, but he's slow. He can be hidden. The Celtics can hide him. So this is a great move for them. And they still have a move they can make. They still have that TPE that will expire. I don't know if they're going to use anything with it, but they gave up very little to get Brogdon. And that was huge because when I first saw that trade, I was thinking it's either Smart or Williams or someone that's gone. Grant Williams, not Rob Williams.
Derek White even too.
Yeah, Derek White. Yeah. So to see that we gave up a lot of guys, like I still liked Nesmith, but you know, we obviously he's not gonna flourish in any role that we give him. It's good to see him to go on a younger team. But we didn't give up anyone too important or valuable, and we got someone very valuable to us. I just love the move.
I think the most important thing for me when I'm looking at these moves, and I think we both you guys beat around the bushes when you're saying this, but we got two new sources of offense that don't really require people to set them up, right? So these guys, both Gallinari and Brogdon, can get buckets on their own, which is kind of what the Celtics need, especially when our offense is stagnant or our sets aren't working or we're getting locked up. Just another option, JT or JB are having a tough game. It's another source of offense. They get good shots on their own. Marcus Smart tries to create his own offense, but he doesn't create great shots by himself usually, except when he gets in the paint. He usually gets good looks, good floater looks. But adding two new sources of offense that don't really need anything to get them going is huge for us. But I love these two moves. I think this really puts the Celtics in a great position to try to get back to the finals.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what I saw in the finals is like Game 6, like they just didn't have any more minutes for the wing position. Jason Tatum was gassed. Jaylen Brown was gassed by the end of that game. So they got that with Danilo Gallinari, and he's going to give you some good minutes. A good shooter. They can still add another defensive wing like Max said with TPE, and they needed some more playmaking on the point guard end from Marcus Smart, so he doesn't have to rely on that, so he can play more defense. But you can interchange them, like you can interchange Brogdon and Marcus Smart, I think, and they can be like a good defensive backcourt. But Brogdon's got to see the court; he always gets hurt. So that would be interesting to see what they do with the TPE, if they get another point guard or they get another wing. But I like the moves by the Celtics so far.
I wouldn't mind a young ball handler if I'm the C's. Try to go get somebody that can come in and kind of run an offense. Right, you have a couple guys right now that aren't really true point guards that aren't really going to set up an offense and kind of can control a game. So I would really love like a game manager from the Celtics, kind of like somebody young who's not going to try to do too much on offense, but can come in kind of like a Rondo in a sense that can just really impact the game without scoring. One really interesting thing too about this move is that it now puts probably Al on the bench, right?
Yeah.
That puts Al as sixth man. So, you're starting small ball. You're going Brogdon if he's healthy. And then you have Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Rob Will. That bumps Al to the bench, which, I mean, I don't mind the move, honestly, right? Like, if you're a Celtics guy like me, I think that this is a pretty decent move for Al. Decreasing his minutes as he's getting older, obviously. His body's getting a little more fragile, but also he can come in, well rested and be really efficient. I think he'll be a very efficient player for the Celtics next season. I think one thing that's also we can talk. We don't really need to get into the Celtics, next season looks now, but we're also going to be very dependent on Rob Will's health. We saw how significant that was for us all season, or all playoffs mainly. I think in the regular season we'll be fine without him. We can manage without him, but when it comes time to win basketball games, you need Rob Will. Period.
Yeah, I think I think I was very critical of the Celtics, but these two moves they made, I really do like, and I think they're it's them and the Bucks and everyone else right now in the East, pending everything what happens with some big names right now. But I think one of the things that you mentioned, Al going to the bench, he can spell Rob Will. If he has to at the 5, he can spell Jason Tatum. Like, he gives a lot more flexibility. And I think one of the things I like is that Smart isn't ball handling, because I feel like he can get a little erratic. Like, some of his gifts can also be his, I guess, undoings. He gets a little fast and sped up. I feel like when you have a point guard, you want them to control the game, and obviously you want to be fast when you're supposed to. But he's all gas all the time, and let him know. Now you can kind of let him do his thing, like on defense. I don't know. I feel like if you let him focus mainly on defense, he gets the number one guy. I feel like I think you're going to see the best of Marcus Smart now.
Yeah, I agree with that. We didn't have a ball handler. Like, Marcus Smart was our best ball handler, but he's not an A+ ball handler by any means. And not that not that Brogdon is an A+ ball handler, but he's at least an A. And we really needed that. 2 names that I've heard on the TPE market for the Celtics is I've heard that they're looking for insurance for Rob Will, because he played a good amount of minutes. He's never healthy. We're kind of just assuming that he's probably going to get an injury or not play 82 games. So I've heard that they're interested in maybe like a Thomas Bryant or someone that they can get with the TPE to be a big insurance for Rob Will. I know how Horford is, but if I'm the Celtics, I don't want to rely on Horford to be my backup for someone who's injury prone when he himself is getting up there in age, like we mentioned, and it's just a lot to put on him. We want to gradually reduce his role a little bit, just because he's so old. He looked good though last year, but those guys played a lot of games. They made it all the way to the finals. Only 2 teams played as many games as they did, the Warriors and the Celtics, and that's going to take a toll on some of our players. We're going to have some injuries. These guys play in the summer too, for their respective countries. Sometimes I know Tatum played either last summer or 2 summers ago, so they have a lot of mileage on them. I think the Celtics are going to look to either add. I also heard Malik Beasley could be a name that we might be adding as a backup point guard, someone who can also dribble, has really good ball handling, and I think that would be a good name for us to look out for. But yeah, just like you guys were mentioning about what we could do with the TPE, I'm thinking it's probably going to be big insurance or another point guard, or we just don't use it and let it expire.
Would you rather have a guard or a solid center that can really back him up? Because y'all still have Pritchard. He's going to get better on defense. Yeah,
I disagree. I disagree with both of you. I'm going to go guard for the simple fact that I think the Celtics can play small ball better or as good as anybody in the league. I think adding another person that can create open shots for Tatum, Brown, even Horford, Grant Williams, just adding someone like a Rondo. I know I keep saying this, but as somebody that is literally main job is to run an offense and distribute. I think
Dragic would have been perfect.
Dragic would have been great. I know he lost a little bit of his speed, but he's a phenomenal knockdown 3-point shooter. I want a playmaker. I want just somebody that can facilitate very well, can handle the ball very well, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, just does a very solid job. And whether he starts or plays 25 minutes off the bench, I just want a solid point guard. I want a solid game manager that can help us win games down the stretch when our offense isn't going great, and somebody that we can rely on to, make a play or call an offense or just kind of control the game.
Well, just the only thing on that is if Rob Will goes down, and yes, they can play small ball, but let's say he does go down with a longer injury, which, let's be honest, that's not out of the question with Rob Will. Injuries are a big thing. They could be really screwed against certain teams like the Bucks. The Bucks are a very long team. a bigger team. I think like I know like a guy. I mean, like I don't have the free agent centers, but like I know a guy like a Drummond or like Dwight Howard. Just having that insurance where
Boogie
they
Cousins.
can exactly from the injuries, and mainly because you have to look at who you're going up against in the East, who are you contending against, and honestly, the biggest threat's the Bucks. You have the Heat right behind. They have Bam, and I think the Celtics. Well, yes, if Brogdon goes down, that would suck. But I think Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, you play smart. Like there are options. There's literally no options right now after Rob Will
and Horford. But
Yeah.
you're not. Yeah.
Well,
All right,
Yeah,
Max, you
I
have one
picked
more
a
thing to
cen-
say. Let's wrap this up.
Sorry.
With the C's here.
Yes, I just picked the center just because, like, guys, we have. It's like we lost Tice, so it's Horford, Rob Will, and then like Luke Cornett is really like we're very low on bigs. I think we need one
I can get a
more
flagrant
serviceable
two
big.
out there for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm high on Luke Cornett. I really am, but he always looks good in the 5 seconds he plays a game. But I don't know. We definitely need a little bit of insurance because I think we got our ball handler in Brogdon, and like you said, Pritchard has some balls on him. I mean, he airballed a lot in the finals, but that's experience that a lot of people don't have. And I just really like his game. I think they like his game. And
Plus, he was taking solid shots. He was shooting. He was
Yeah.
You know, he had good looks.
He had the balls to shoot. I mean, I
was
would have
off.
shot it,
He was off. He was off.
but I mean, at
All
least
right.
he shot it. So yeah,
that's always a plus.
just what I want to close on. That's why I think we need a big.
That was an awesome Celtics discussion there, guys. That was awesome. That was fun. Let's talk about one more thing really, really, really briefly. Kevin Durant market is still taking shape. News dropped, I believe, on Monday that he bought a house in Toronto. $3.12 million house in Toronto. I saw on Twitter. So
What?
I don't know what the fuck that means. Maybe he's just buying to like be closer to Drake and hang out with my boy Drake. But this KD shit is fucking starting to piss me off. Like I just want to know where he's playing next season. Malik, what do you think?
I just can't see anywhere like he could go, honestly, because the players that they want 2 all-stars or all-star level players, but they half the league, like the young players are on a contract, so they can't trade them with like a player on the Nets. They can't. It's Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So like the only good options are really the Warriors, because they can trade Poole, Wiggins, but I don't want to see that. Or the Raptors, they could trade Scotty Barnes, but would you really want to trade Scotty Barnes?
Yeah,
No.
I don't think they do. I don't think they will trade Scotty Barnes. So that's why I don't know if Toronto's happening. And then just to reiterate what you were talking about, Malik, with the contracts. I don't know how many people know this, but with the CBA rules, you can't have multiple players that are on their rookie max extension contract. So, for example, Bam Adebayo is on his rookie max extension contract. You can't trade him for Kevin Durant because him and Ben Simmons can't be on the same team because Ben Simmons is also on his rookie max extension.
See, this is why we have Max on, because he's a fucking rules guru when it comes to this trade shit.
No, I just
this
listen
free
to a lot
agency
of-
stuff.
Yeah, I just listen to a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of random CBA rules that everyone forgets, but that for that reason, we could never like. It was always weird when people wanted Bam to come to Boston because we couldn't do that because obviously you can't have Bam and Tatum on the same thing. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. That's why like a Heat trade is very not probable, just because it would be like a package of Lowry, Hero, and like Duncan Robinson. But
Yeah,
you gotta think there's better options out there.
If you're the Nets, that makes no sense. They said they were looking for an all-star plus multiple firsts. So we'll see what happens there. I'm excited to see how that unfolds. We're going to transition into some NFL talk now. This graphic dropped the other day. Fogg sent it in the chat of the most expensive receiving corps for this upcoming 2022 NFL season. And Patriots lead the list at $72.2 million. Jaguars are second with $53.8 million. Chargers 49.5. Giants 47.45. You sent this in the chat, and we're all like, "This makes zero fucking sense." Usually the Patriots aren't a team to mismanage money, but what are they doing here? What are we doing?
And I think this isn't, obviously as a Patriots fan, this definitely infuriated me because the fact that we're spending $20 million more than the next team, and that team right behind them is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, the Chargers, they actually have good weapons. And then the Giants, Like, those are not teams I want to be like up in leaderboards with. But mainly just like talking about it, it's like, it doesn't really make much sense. And like, and I understand the way, I know this is kind of shifting to a little bit of a Patriots talk. And I understand when they made all these moves 2 years ago during the COVID year, during 2021, that season, or 2020, whenever it was, they tried to treat it as like a 2-year free agency because they saw a depleted market where not a lot of people had money and they had a bunch of money coming off the books. But mainly I want to ask you guys, like, really, like, I think when you look at, and maybe I'm not asking a question, maybe I'm just talking and just posing something, but from looking at this list, it looks like the most money will not necessarily win you a championship. It is how you draft and how you spread that money around. And that's kind of where I'm kind of going with that. Yeah.
That's the reason why you don't see a lot of like quarterbacks winning off their second contract. It's like more a rookie contract guy so they can fill the rest of the team after you like disperse a bunch of money in the group. Like, everything's going to be like off balance, really. But the Patriots I thought they were good. They had a good. Jacoby Myers is a dog. He's a dog.
No, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. There's some guys, like, I like Jacoby Myers. You know, they have 2 tight ends. They're paying a lot, so that's part of it. Not a lot of teams pay 2 tight ends, let alone 1. But part of it is money and production, and the production is not of the level that needs to be the case right now. You know, like Jonnu Smith, he's got to step up. Like, they paid way too much money for him. You go with the other team's Jaguars. Like, Jaguars just gave 4 years, 84 to Christian Kirk. Like, oh man, Kenny Galladay went to the Giants. And I don't think it's really a Kenny Galladay thing. I think it's more like a Giant thing. But Kenny Galladay, he got the bag last year. So it's like, I don't know. I wanted to bring this up. It's like interesting. You look at it, this graphic. Normally always think like, oh my God, like, the best teams, the best receivers, they're always going to win. You got to spend that money in free agency. But for those fans, you want to drop the bag on a player. Like, these are the teams leading. Like, does that always work? Not necessarily.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. But I also think, Feig, you brought up a great point about the tight ends. We're paying fucking Hunter Henry and is it Jonnu Smith? Jonnu Smith? The other guy, Jonnu, the other guy we're paying. I mean, we're paying them an absurd amount of money. Hunter Henry got a fucking bag and a half. He got paid. It's just interesting because you see a lot of these teams, like, you look at the Raiders, they have Devontae Adams, they have Hunter Renfrow, they have Darren Waller. Like, they have probably the best offense in the league, and they're not even on the list. Like, they're not even in the top 4. It's just so interesting that it also speaks to how teams kind of scout talent and also develop that talent within a short amount of time, right? You know, a lot of these guys are very, very young and coming off of contracts that aren't insane. They're like, you know, that's not anything ridiculous. You look at the highest paid receivers. I think Tyreek is number 1 now. I think he's the highest paid receiver in the league. He's not on a team that's really looking to win right now. Like, the fucking Dolphins aren't going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. At least I don't fucking think so.
Well, they're trying. At least they are trying.
Yeah,
they think they will be.
They're taking steps in a direction too, but I also think paying like a guy like we all have agreed on that much isn't really the answer to kind of putting together a Super Bowl winning roster. I think Tyreek saw an opportunity to make an absolute bag, and I think he kind of took it. I think I don't know if he's expecting to win, but you know, it's interesting. It's just very interesting fight.
You know, I think it's twofold really, where, you know, with the Chiefs, it's like funny because they both kind of work together. The Chiefs, they're paying Mahomes a bunch of money right now. So that money starts kicking in. You can't keep everyone. So Tyreek is a guy that has to get moved. You move him to Miami. Miami is not paying Tua anything. Miami's trying to figure out if Tua is that guy. And now with Tua, you got a left tackle, you got Jalen Waddle, you got Gesicki, you just got Tyreek Hill, got a new coach, you got like 3 new running backs. Like, this is the year. If you don't step up, like, you're gone. They're getting someone else. And that's how you really have to do it. You build around, like as Malik said, a rookie quarterback or a veteran. Like you really don't see like you saw Matt Stafford this year win it, and then he got that extension rewarded. And somehow the Rams like just have all this money. I don't really know where it comes from. I think they just keep kicking the can down the road with some of this, and they figure it out. But I mean, it worked. So yeah,
it worked. But that's why I believe repeating in football is the hardest sport to win multiple championships in, because of the fact that, you know, these guys win championships and they have incredible years, and then they're looking to go get a fucking bag somewhere else a season or two later, right? You know, and they're granted they completely deserve it. They're absolutely studs. But that's why the Patriots run is so impressive in like, you know, the mid to late whatever 2010s. It's so impressive that they were able to do that, because of it's just like putting a roster together in the NFL is so fucking difficult. You have 22 starting positions that all need to be paid, but also have the motivation to go out there and give it their best, even if they know that they're not making like the most money. But I will say, if you do win, like you get a lot of bonuses if you make like for each playoff win, making the playoffs, Super Bowls. These contracts in the NFL, more than any other sport, are completely loaded with incentives. So I think the motivation to play is there for a lot of these guys, but you know, in order to construct a Super Bowl winning roster year in and year out, it's very, very, very difficult to do it.
And you really just like the pay structure is rising every year. So you're in a situation where you're really stuck. You have to pay this guy. Then like the Seahawks, and years on, it just gets worse and worse, and your roster just depletes, and the quarterback has to leave. So I'm hesitant on the big contracts. Like, if you're that, you got to be that guy. If you want like $100 million deal for me.
Even
but
if you
some
are,
teams are forced to.
Yeah, right. I agree. But even if you are that guy, like putting so much money into one player, into one person, unless you can draft a lot of talent, doesn't do a ton for you. We saw the Chiefs obviously dumped all their money into Mahomes. They lost Tyreek Hill. They lost Tyrann Mathieu. Like they're not as good of a team as they were when they won a Super Bowl, right? They win the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes gets fucking paid, and you know the Chiefs are kind of on the decline. I know they brought in Juju, and he'll be pretty good. I'm excited to watch him play this year. I think he's going to have a very, very solid year. But it's just like, it's just so difficult if you're a GM, because you're dumping all of the money into one guy for what? Just to make the wild card, just to make the playoffs and maybe win one or two games, maybe get to the conference championship again. But that's why Bill Belichick as a GM was so incredible, because he could just year in and year out keep the same talent on the field for basically 7 years, 6 years.
It's a GOAT.
He is the GOAT.
And I think that's part of the reason why when you start paying your quarterback, the GM position is so valuable, because you need to draft well. Like you need some guys contributing on your team that aren't getting paid anything. That's really just how it is. Like, I mean, you look at just an example, like AJ Brown got traded because he wanted a new extension. And like the Titans drafted Traylon Burks, who was player comped to AJ Brown. So they drafted the closest thing to AJ Brown because they're not paying him now. So it's just like something interesting to think about, how like, you know, with teams constructed, things like that, because the NFL is a hard cap. Like you need guys to be paid at a lower salary when you are paying your big guys, like especially your quarterback. You have to pay your quarterback. That's like, you get a guy, you like him, you keep him the whole time. That's what you have to do.
And yeah, what else I got from going back to the list, what else I got from it is like bad teams make a lot of bad decisions. Like I'm a huge Giants fan, and our management was horrible for like 4 years. So we just threw money at Kenny Galladay. He didn't score a touchdown last year. Yeah, and even our draft picks, Kadarius Toney had like one touchdown and like 400 yards.
He's gonna play though.
Yeah, he's going to be good.
It seemed like he had like the 400 yards literally over the course of like 6 games, and then just dropped off the face of the earth.
That Cowboys game, he had like 180.
It was nuts.
Yeah. I'm a Florida fan. He can play. He's good.
But like, it's just like teams should like actually invest and like scout, hire, and I like Fike said, and general managers, and get good people in that position for them to succeed.
Very underrated position when it comes to the success of an NFL franchise. Absolutely, for sure. All right, that was a great discussion, fellas. Anybody got anything to add before we wrap this up? Perfect.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
That was fun. All right, when we come back, we're going to go over the final division, the AFC West. We've covered the AFC East, South, and North. Now we're going to go over the AFC West record predictions from the three of us and then we're going to ultimately compare them to the Vegas lines and maybe figure out a bet that we all liked and we're going to take. So, yeah, we will be right back with that. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably our favorite segment to do here on the podcast, where we just take an NFL division, run through the records of the teams in the divisions and talk about it. It gets us absolutely excited for the season, absolutely pumped. Comparing them to the Vegas lines, we already have, I believe, 2 squad rides already on the year. We have the Bills, and then we have the Titans over 9. So we have those 2 so far. Hopefully we find one more today. We have the Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, and Raiders in a completely stacked AFC West. Malik, why don't you give us your records for those teams this year?
Okay, for the Broncos, week 1, that's a W to the Seahawks. What is your full record? What's it, just like total record?
Yeah, just record 12-5,
record.
like
Okay, just record.
Just record, literally just record.
I got Broncos 13-4. I got Chiefs 12-5. Raiders 9-8, and Chargers 9-8.
Okay, Feig.
I got the Broncos 12-5, Chargers 11-6, Chiefs 10-7, Raiders 9-8.
All right, this is crazy. I'm so excited to talk about this. This is fucking insane. I have Raiders 12-5. I have Broncos 11-6. I have Chiefs 10-7, and I have Chargers 8-9. I don't even know where to start. Feig, why don't you talk about the first team you want to talk about, because I have no fucking clue where to start.
All right. Well, I'll lead it off with my division leading Broncos at 12-5. Listen, with the Broncos, I just see there's just too much to like regarding, first of all, their weapons. Let's talk about the running backs, Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Pretty solid offensive line. They've got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. Well, obviously he's doing some legal trouble. Hopefully he can play. KJ Hamler. They've got a deep receiver core. Defensively, Bradley Chubb. You've got Justin Simmons. You've got Patrick Surtain. You got
Von Miller.
Kyle Fuller. I mean, they got some guys on the team. And I think this team is very similar to when that Bucs team had Brady come in. They really lacked a quarterback. And I'm a huge Russ guy. I love Russ. I think the Seattle just ran a 1990s offense where they wanted to run the ball 50 times a game. They wanted to play good defense with bad defensive players instead of letting Russ cook, like actually letting Russ cook. And when they did let Russ cook, they had a moron for their offensive coordinator. So I think you're really going to see an interesting Broncos team finally take the lead.
Yeah, I had the Broncos going 13-4. Actually, yeah, I went overboard with this one, but like Fag said, Russell Wilson, his offense last year was not good at all. These past few years have not been good at all, and he's gonna flourish in this offense. Look at the weapons: KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton's coming back from ACL, and the defensive. They beefed up their offensive line too as well. They still have Garrett Bortles. And look at the defensive side of the ball. Bradley Chubb's coming back too, and they're all going to get better.
I'm excited for this Broncos team, man. I had them going 11-6. The thing with the Broncos is that I think their defense is going to win them the majority of the games. I don't know if their offense will be insanely high powered. I don't really know if they're going to be one of the top scoring offenses in the league when it comes to scoring points. but I think their defense is going to take care of business on their side of the ball. I'm very confident that their defense is going to be just a fucking bunch of dogs just eating up dudes. No homo. Well, pause. Actually, I don't know if that's acceptable to say in 2022. Sorry, but
don't get canceled.
I'm not trying to get canceled.
I just got like a question for you regarding you think the defense will kind of carry them more so than the offense. Do you think that's more like a Russ thing, like the receivers? Like, do you not believe in the receiving core? Like, what kind of like is your, I guess, hesitation with them?
My hesitation is in the receiving core, and I do believe they lost Noah Fant. Did they lose Noah Fant, or do they still have him?
They traded him away, yes.
Yeah,
they have a tight end who I totally forgot to mention. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
Yeah,
I call him Alberto. It's like Albert Ugu. I don't know, but they're like really high on him. He was actually eating into a lot of Fant snaps. That's why they were okay with giving up Fant, who probably is a better player, but they felt the difference will be marginal.
Yeah, I just don't know if their weapons will be good enough to, like I said, propel them to be one of the highest scoring offenses in the NFL. I could see them being, kind of hovering around the mid-tier when it comes to scoring. But like I said, I think their defense is lights out. I think their defense is fucking phenomenal. And I do believe that they will have the opportunity. I do believe that they will have a lot of possessions as well, which could translate to more scoring. I think their defense will force a lot of turnovers and get a lot of 3-and-outs. So to give the Broncos the ball back a lot. And I do believe that they will be able to put up points, but not at a prolific rate to the point where it's like every time they touch the ball, kind of like the Chiefs a couple years ago, where every time they touched the ball, you knew they were going to score, something like that.
And I really like their cornerbacks. They still have AJ Boye, right?
I do
not. I do not know.
Let's go.
But they have Patrick Surtain had an amazing rookie season, and he's gonna be really good. He locked up a lot of the good receivers last year. He was under the radar a little bit, but I feel like he's gonna go off this year.
Boye is a free agent.
Oh, he's a free agent.
Yeah.
They still have Surtain though. It'll be all right.
He signed.
And Fuller's very good as well.
Yeah, Fuller.
Yeah. But Surtain had a great year last year, really long.
He was phenomenal, dude. He was sick.
Beast.
6'2", which is, that's bigger for a corner, so he can guard some of those bigger guys. He's a very good player.
You just literally felt like you couldn't throw the ball his way last year. He was either I think he picked off Herbert twice in one game late in the season last year. So it's going to be interesting. Let's transition now. Getting off of the Broncos. Speaking of Justin Herbert, the Chargers. I'm not very high on them. Their schedule's not easy, but Malik, where do you think this Chargers team ends up by the end of the season?
I have a lot of people saying that they're going to go 14-2 or 14-3 and go to the AFC Championship. I think this team is not there yet, really. I feel like Justin Herbert will have a great year, but I just don't believe in his defense at all.
They added J.C. Jackson, though. I will sorry to interrupt, but I will say J.C. Jackson for them is a huge addition. I do believe they have Kyle Van Noy as well.
Then they have Khalil Mack too.
Van Noy's both those guys are old. I don't think their linebackers are going to be incredible. I know they're kind of some big names, but I'm not really confident that they're going to be studs. I know J.C. Jackson is going to be a stud in the secondary. He was a dog for the Patriots last year. Definitely be a dog again. His IG name is Mr. INT. So you know that guy. You know that guy's fucking dirty. I believe that the Chargers offense will be a little volatile this year. I think they're going to have games where they look unstoppable. And I think in order for them to be successful week in and week out, I think Keenan Allen is going to have a sick year. I think he's going to have a really, really solid year for the Chargers. And I'm also big on the fact that Herbert has had another year of progression. Another year with the offense, kind of the same squad, same crew, Eckler as well. They definitely have a lot of talent, and I think Herbert can elevate this team. But the thing is, man, the reason I'm so low on them is the schedule. The schedule that they have is pretty tough. They start the season off pretty easy. The first two divisional games of the season are the Raiders and the Chiefs, which kind of suck. But then they play the Jaguars, they play the Texans, they play the Browns, they play the Seahawks, they play the Falcons early. Then the back half of the season is Niners, Chiefs, Cardinals, Raiders, Dolphins, Titans, Colts, Rams, Broncos. Like, that is fucking hell for the back half of the season. So they better figure out a stride early because they're going to need it for the back half of the season if they're going to want to have a solid year. I think they'll take care of business early. I think they'll have one of the best records in the NFL early in the season. Then I could just see them falling off a cliff with this tough schedule.
You know, I got the Chargers at 11-6. I love Herbert. I think Herbert's a great player, great quarterback. Obviously, not saying anything new to anyone, but that's just how highly I think of him, and I think he can really elevate the team this year. The one thing that does worry me a little bit with this team is I'm not sure how good their head coach is. You know, that one game, that Thursday night game when they played against the Chiefs, he went for every fourth down. And I don't think they got one of them, and it went to OT. And then, you know, you had the collapse in the Raiders game and that whole mismanagement, whatnot, you know, what was going to happen or whatever with the tie situation. And then another thing with them too is their interior run defense. Like, they got ran on all day, and teams that it's really hard to be a successful team if you can't control both ends of the line of scrimmage. It's just, at the end of the day, you can have all the flashy weapons you want, but the game is always one up front. Like, you control the line of scrimmage, like, you're going to win a lot of games. So that's my only two concerns with the team. I know they added a little bit defensively. I think Mac is going to be a great because he'll be a better version of himself because he was getting doubled so much with Chicago. Now they're going to have Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, and I think one of the ways they want to, I guess, help some of their defensive ails is, you know, having those two rushers, because it's hard to game plan for two. You really can't. So I'm really curious. This team, again, a lot of volatility. You never know what you're going to get with the Chargers until that game in the fourth quarter goes to double zeros, because they've lost some games in ways I can't even say.
Yeah, I like their defense too. Like, it's crazy to think about it, because if this team was like in another division, they'd probably have like 13 wins, but their division is so hard. It's hard to gauge them, like where they're going to fall. That's why I had them at 9-8, because I wasn't really sure, like, with Coach Staley's like late game management skills. I wasn't really sure high on those.
Yeah.
So he has to prove it this year for sure.
And the gauntlet back half of the season, man. That is ridiculously tough. One thing I forgot to mention earlier, completely forgot, is we have the Broncos win total. Completely skipped over that part, so I apologize to you guys for that. Broncos win total sitting at 10 even. Over 10 is -120. Under 10 is even. I mean, if you're betting this, I'm kind of liking the over here. You know, you're getting the insurance with 10. You're paying a small amount of juice, nothing crazy, only -120. But for a Broncos team that has unlimited upside, really, you could see them, like, Feig had them at a crazy record. I have them at 11-6. Like, that's kind of being a little cautious.
I mean, all our records pretty much seem like a squad ride.
I mean, it seems like a squad ride. Let's finish the division, and then we will decide on a squad ride here. So we just covered the Chargers. Their win total for this season is at 10 as well. Over 10 is -135. Under 10 is +115. What do you guys think about that?
I might hammer the under on that one.
Okay,
I'm gonna see
under.
Like a hater, but I'm gonna hammer it.
I also could see this team
have
really.
Their record at?
I had
9-8.
I think 9-8. Yeah,
9-8. Boy, that's a small margin, though. I don't know. I'm probably staying off that. I see a lot of room with this team. I wouldn't be surprised if they go 7-10 or if they go 12-5.
I completely agree with Feig. If I did have to take a side, though, I probably would lean the under. But like Feig said, it's such a small room. Those 9, 10, 8, 9, 10, 11, like 8, 9, 10 mainly. They're all just kind of a few losses away, and we know how the Chargers handle games late. If they wanted to hit that total, I think they're going to need to. The head coach is going to need to perform a little better in the clutch and help elevate his team to get those wins, because they're definitely talented enough too. All right, moving on to the Chiefs now. I had them at 10-7. Lost Tyreek Hill, lost Tyrann Mathieu, brought in Juju Smith-Schuster, who I think is going to have a great year. This team's tough, right? This team's tough in a tough division. Their secondary is kind of shitty, and especially in a league with some prolific offenses, you could see them getting burned a bunch.
Yeah, I had them going 12-5 because I still believe in you can get by during the regular season with subpar secondaries. Like you still have Patrick Mahomes, you still have Andy Reid, you still have that system, that culture. They can reel out 11 or 12 wins, but in the playoffs, I just can't see them advancing far.
Yeah, I mean, for me with the Chiefs, this is a team like they're gonna figure it out. Like they're gonna get double-digit wins. Like, let's be honest, like this team isn't going 8-9, 7-10. Like Andy Reid, Mahomes, like Kelsey, they've done this like too many times. Yeah, I think in the beginning of the season they might struggle a little bit, like trying to find like some of their offensive footing. But like as Malik said, yeah, their secondary isn't as good. I think they can win some games just purely on their pass rush. They've always, for the most part, had some level of a pass rush. And Chris Jones, he's up there with some of the better defensive tackles in the game, if not the best.
The best, yeah.
So I think this team will end up being okay. I have them at 10-7, finishing third in the division. But I don't know how high their ceiling is. I think it's going to really rely a lot on – I think they need a receiver like McCole Hardman, which I don't think it's going to happen, or their rookie receiver that they drafted. Was it Christian Watson?
No, it was Sky Clark.
Or was it? All right, Sky Miller, or was
Sky Clark? Sky Clark.
Clark? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Sky Moore.
Sky Moore, yeah. I knew it was. There were two guys that were smaller guys drafted, Sky Moore and Christian Watson, and I was trying to figure out which one it was. But I think he really needs to step into kind of that Tyreek role because so much greatness from that Chiefs offense comes from opening up the field. Like I've always seen it when I watch the Chiefs. Kelsey, I've never seen a tight end find the soft spot in the zone better than Kelsey. And that's some of his greatness. Unbelievable. He always finds it. Great run after catch. He always finds that soft spot. I think just opening that up, I think that will be a huge key for them. And Andy Reid will figure it out. Like I'm not that worried.
No, he's phenomenal. Their OC is also great. Defenses will be able to adjust, though, now that Tyreek's gone. If they don't develop a deep ball threat, I know they have McCole, too, who's obviously not Tyreek, but he's just as fast as Tyreek. He's not the receiver he is. He's not as crafty, but he definitely has the speed. So if the Chiefs can open up the middle of a defense for Kelsey and also connect on a few deep balls, they'll be fine. They'll still be the Chiefs. I put them at 10-7, but it was just kind of a calm 10-7. I'm not really excited. I'm not really, high or low on this team. I think they're just kind of going to be, they're going to have a decent year. I'm not expecting them to make another Super Bowl run or anything like that, but 10-7 to calm 10-7. It's nothing like, if they get to 11 wins, I wouldn't be surprised. If it's 9 wins, I'd be a little surprised. But 12 wins as well is that win total that I'm kind of just like, that would be a very successful year for the Chiefs. Looking at their win total, it's 10.5 minus 110 on both sides, so it's pretty much even. I don't really know. I actually don't know. I probably would stay away from this, but if I had to take a lean, I'd probably lean the over just because I think that the Chiefs are more likely to hit their ceiling rather than their floor just because of the Chiefs. Phenomenal coaching staff, obviously Patrick Mahomes as well, Travis Kelce, fucking phenomenal defense. So. Not phenomenal defense, phenomenal defensive line, tough secondary. So I'd probably lean over there.
Let's be honest, though. If we saw this team in the AFC Championship again, would any of us be surprised?
No.
So,
but if they won the Super Bowl, I would be surprised.
I'd be a little bit.
At this point,
yeah,
in the summer,
I probably
obviously.
would. But I mean, they obviously we don't know who's going to break out or whatnot with this squad and everything, but. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're in the AFC Championship. If they win it, like, yeah, maybe a little bit, but like, if they won it, like, I'd be like, you know what, like, the receivers they drafted, the players they drafted stepped up, and that's not surprising at all to me. So, yeah.
I would probably lean over, but I'm not going to confidently put my money there for sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch that. It can go either way, like, so fast.
Yeah. For sure. I saved this team for last because I think there was the most disparity the biggest gap in the win totals was on this team for me. I have the Raiders at 12-5. I fucking love this team this year. You guys had them going below 500. I think both of you. Did you guys
I have 9-8.
You have 9-8, Malik. Do you have 8-9?
No, yeah, I have 8-9.
Why? I just want to know why.
Well, this one really could have went like both ways because this team potentially could have the best offense in the NFL. But yeah, I really should have put him at. I was feeling 10, but I really wanted to because I don't really trust the coaching Josh McDaniels yet. He's had one stint in the league that wasn't very successful.
My boy Josh can get it done. Trust me, I love my boy Josh.
Yeah, I gotta see what he's gonna do with that offense. I mean, I believe in him. They can. This prediction was like kind of harsh on him, but I really believe in him.
I'm confident in Josh just strictly because of the fact that he's been the Patriots offense. Like he's literally been the man behind the Patriots offense for so long and had so much success. Obviously having Tom Brady may help a little bit, just saying, obviously, but he has a great quarterback in Derek Carr. I know a lot of people are very high on him. His talent is unbelievable. I'm looking to see how he will manage games. Hopefully he can manage games a little bit better. As well as make better decisions kind of when it comes to throwing the ball away or taking sacks and stuff like that, trying not to do as much with his feet because that got into a lot of trouble last year. But I'm confident in Josh, confident in fucking Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams. I mean, on the other side, Max Crosby, like the list goes on and on of talent on this team. I think their ceiling is honestly a Super Bowl. I think this team's ceiling is a Super Bowl. I also think that the Raiders fans will kind of come out of the woodwork now that they have a really good chance. I think that they're going to pack this Vegas stadium. I know there was one game last year when they were playing the Washington football team, when they were the football team, that there were literally more Washington fans than Raiders fans in the game in Vegas. So I think the Raiders fans will come out of the woodwork. I think they'll come out for their team because they have a really good chance of winning the Super Bowl this year.
Cool. Yeah. Quick question. Will we be surprised if like any of these teams made a Super Bowl? That's how stacked they are.
The Broncos, I think, would be the most surprising for me. The Chargers. The Chargers would be most surprising. But
for me, it's got to be the Raiders for me.
Just what? Just because of their defense, or the fact that they're.
Obviously, my record's 9-8. I didn't really get into them too much yet, but I don't know. Like I do think they probably honestly have the best offensive weaponry of the division, but you have to have some level of defense when you enter the playoffs. And I could really see this team, like if they win the division, I could see them losing a home playoff game. You got to be able to win various ways. And I think the only way they win is throwing the ball around. I don't think they have a particularly great run game. Maybe Josh McDaniels brings that in. I mean, Josh Jacobs is always banged up.
Yeah.
And then, their secondary, they haven't been able to figure out their secondary since, Nnamdi Asomugha left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When's the last good corner they had? They had Casey Hayward for a hot minute, but, he was older. They don't have good safeties. I don't know. I'm just not huge on them.
All they have is a good pass rush, really, but can you...
That's what really they've had. Yeah, they've always had, one or two guys that can kind of rush the passer, but that's not... It's just not enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm going to stay high on this team. I think we'll also be able to get a beat on how their season's going to go very early. I think early on we will be able to determine how this Raiders team will look throughout the season. I don't think that they'll be – I think they'll be a little streaky, but I don't think it's they're going to start – 6-0 and then lose 10 straight or something like that. I think if they come out hot, I think they're going to have a great season, but I think if they come out slow, that they're going to have a shitty season. I don't think that they're really going to be able to turn it around one way or the other. But they're going to be an interesting team to watch. They're definitely one of the most interesting teams to watch for this season, just because of their offensive talent. If we're going to take a look now at their win total, it's only 8.5 at -120. So Vegas isn't really high on this team either. So you guys kind of nailed the head. Maybe I am way off, and I'll be looking like a big idiot by the end of the season. But Vegas over 8.5 is -120. Under 8.5 is even. I mean, I'm high on this team and I like the over, but I just think their ceiling is so high that I think the over would be the play here.
This one, this one's tough. This is, I'll lead toward the over because I don't see them losing less than 8 games really.
I don't know. This for me, the Raiders have, again, another team, a lot of volatility. I think probably even more than the Chargers. Like I could see this team going like 6-11 or like 14-3. It's all a matter of honesty if they can kind of figure out how to make it run defensively. I think that's really their biggest thing, and it's a huge thing because that's one side of the ball. Because it's a lot. It's pass rushing, and that's about it. So I don't know. I'll be curious to see if they figure that. If they do, like my prospects on this team will definitely change. You do need defense to win a championship, at least some level of it.
This offense is so good, though. It's like
it is.
It's
it is
pieces they have.
Ridiculous. It is.
The reason why I know this though,
crazy.
Those Patriots teams with some of the best offenses ever didn't win because of lack of defense.
They did go 17-0 though. They did go 17-0. All I care about, man, regular season record, man. That's all I care about. For the sake of this show and this segment. But this was really fun, guys. This was fucking awesome. I always love this. These
squad riding the Broncos, though.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
that is the official.
We all had it over. We did it inadvertently. That's the thing. We like to do this. We make the records. We come out, and Malik and I don't even know the over-unders, and Butts doesn't even know it.
I literally just looked it up. Like
these are we're going through it game by game, and if we all like it, maybe you want to fade us. That might honestly be the best option because that normally ends up panning out. But got a squad ride this.
I also love the fact that we don't really discuss the records. We kind of just come in. We haven't really talked about these teams at all. Very, very briefly talked about them, but we really didn't give any kind of indication of how we thought these teams were doing. So I think coming in and debating these teams, talking about these teams is always a blast. Looking at the win totals, looking where Vegas has them is always fun too, to kind of see where we're at compared to Vegas. But that's a squad ride, the third squad ride of the year so far. Over 10 wins for the Denver Broncos at -120. You get a little insurance with a 10. So if they get to 10, you get a push, but expecting big things from the season this year. I will say, I was talking to Jordan about this the other day. One of the biggest things, Jordan and I, co-host of the Lub Cast, of course, one of the biggest things that's really interesting about betting win totals is when, it's a Sunday and you really want to bet against a team that you have a future on, but you think it's the right bet, and then you're fucking conflicted and all that stuff. But it's going to be a hectic fucking NFL season. Fight. You're going to be in Italy for most of it, aren't you?
I am, dude. I'm those Sunday night, Thursday night, and Monday night games
on the couch.
I'm gonna be fucking up, dude. I'll be up at freaking 5:30 in the morning.
You gotta buy the package.
No, I'm hoping my YouTube TV works over there. It's working over there. If not, my PlayStation is going to be using some serious stream.
Some serious streamage from Florence.
But no, the one thing though I wanted to say though about if you have futures, you're betting individual games, just let it all play out. Like, obviously, you have a play you like, go with it. The futures will always take care of themselves. So look at it game by game.
I love the fucking advice from Five, man. He sounds like an experienced gambler, man. Which he very much is. We both are. We've had some phenomenal nights on the couch, especially when the MLB season came around. We had a lot of fun on that couch. So that's why the gambling couch has now transitioned to the couch. But we'll definitely be talking a lot of gambling when that ramps back up. We're gonna have college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, college. I mean, everything you can imagine we'll cover. But that is episode 3. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This was a fucking blast as always. Make sure to drop a follow, download, share with a friend that likes sports. Promote it everywhere. We're looking to go big with this thing. So yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.
on the trail.